Hello, my name is Scott Wilson, and this is in the nature of a coming out video. It's also kind of a being dragged back into the closet video, but it's not really my story. It's certainly not my coming out. I am a major participant, so consequently, it is sort of my story too. It's my partner Barry's story. His coming out, and he came out late in life, so it's to his children. He also has died. He died about 2 and a bit years ago now, and it hit me very hard, which is a little surprising because it was hardly without warning. He had fibrosis of the lungs, which one normally gets from asbestos exposure. But his was non-specific because nobody quite knows what exactly it was. But it's probably to do with dealing with hay in a barn because his daughter was very into horses and they had a lot of horses. And he dealt with the feeding of them and the hay and all of that sort of stuff. Barry and I met at the Kingston Gay Men's Dinner Club, which is the city I'm in right at the moment, Kingston, Canada. It's not a terribly gay-friendly town. It's got no bar. It's no gay bar. And I'm going to use the word town, but it's really a small city. It is in the vicinity of where Barry grew up, which is why he moved back here. And it's sort of equal distance between Montreal and Ottawa and Toronto on Lake Ontario. And I moved here mostly to get away from Toronto, which is where I basically lived. I'd been in Mexico for a little over a year. Barry first hit my radar. Was at the dinner club, of course, and he was a table of 17 guys in this bratwurst palace called Amadeus. It's on Princess Street in Kingston. And he was seated across from me in about 3-4 seats, so peripheral of the little crowd that I was in. And I was doing my best to be, interesting and because I wanted to meet a few people. And it wasn't really going over very well because the Gay Men's Dinner was a very little incestuous group that all knew each other. And because it's kind of a small town thing, you get a plus for being new, but not much of a plus. And at one point I'm scanning around the table and my eyes hit on Barry, who's, I thought, glaring at me, but it turns out the exact opposite was true. He was the person with whom I was going over big. Now, Barry was very much older than I was. He was, as it turned out, 17 years older, but I didn't really find that out for, till 4 months down the road, easily, until I'd moved in anyway. I thought he was about 10 years older than I was when we met. And he kind of lied through omission in that he realized, because of something I had said, that I was under a misapprehension. He didn't correct it. Well, we got together, and we were together for about 7 years. In that time, we renovated a house and went away to Mexico a couple of times. And I started painting and seriously going into a bit of an art career. When Barry was a young man, at the time of his marriage, there were really 3 choices. One was psychiatric illness and electroshock therapy and conversion therapy. The other was jail, and the third was a beard. Now, he had 3 kids, 2 biologically his, and 1 was his wife from before. And that's very significant to the story because that's one of the reasons they got together, is as a fallen woman, with this child and no husband, his wife had very little in the way of prospects. She was also not the prettiest woman in the world. I've only ever seen pictures because I only came on the scene long after she had died. And that may be me being unfair. But so she was looking for a husband, and he was looking for a beard or trying to fit in and have a wife. And so there were a lot of deals with the devil being struck in their relationship. Now, that's not to say it wasn't a successful partnership, because they did raise these children. But it was hardly, a hardcore love match. And if times had been different, and in many ways, this is also a story that's kind of time-locked, because it's the kind of story that won't be happening anymore, because you can, get married as a gay person these days, and you can have an open and out life, and it's the option that people are going to be taking, and raise children and do the whole thing. And by and large, it's so much better. Because it's not just the gay person. There are ripples that run out, and this story is full of them. Anyway, when I was a young man, certainly when I hit puberty, it was legal to be gay. Trudeau the Elder had famously taken the government out of the bedrooms of the nation. It wasn't until I was 32, though, that I no longer had a psychiatric illness. So those were the times that we are talking about. In any case, Barry and his wife, who I never met, long since dead by the time I showed up on the scene, actually had, a successful partnership, but it was not anything but a marriage of convenience. However, for the kids' sake, for society's sake, for all sorts of sakes, the illusion of a fairly normal life was kept up. And it was Barry and my relationship that outed him to his kids. I remember when we first got together, I wasn't answering the phone in case the kids called and all of that sort of stuff. Now, his kids were all fairly distant. There was one based in southern Ontario, at first in Ottawa, and then while we were together, Sussex moved to Toronto with his wife, Caitlin. And they're the ones that I knew best. I met the other two on a couple of occasions. One was, Barry was quite sick at this point, but still able, not on oxygen, and still able to move. So we went out by train, and I met them out there. But they had also been into southern Ontario, Ottawa, and took the trip down to see their father. And so I'd met them these couple of times. It was never, it never really got beyond grudging tolerance between the three kids and me. And even the three kids and Barry, because they, in my opinion, were quite awful to him. Very judgmental. Very concerned about their mother's reputation. And that this illusion of their parents' marriage being an everlasting love and all that kind of stuff. The normal Hollywood kind of image of what a marriage is. Anyway, as I said, Barry had a lot of family in the area, not immediate, but cousins. He had a sister, nephews, nieces, that sort of thing. So it was bound to get back to the kids, even though I wasn't answering the phone. And I was not being mentioned. I was, that there was this. Well, this is another thing that I didn't sort of figure out until 2 years in. This trophy wife with a difference was on the scene. And so we got this visit from Caitlin and Sussex. They left the kids behind because to see if I was child friendly. I remember them sitting on the couch and us in our 2 chairs having this very stilted conversation. But obviously I passed because the next time they were to come, the kids were going to be coming. And Barry was overjoyed. Barry was expecting acceptance, and well, he realized it was stilted. He saw it evolving into a closeness because he was looking for some of that. But then the next visit, which I sort of really splashed out, and that we were being hit on the way to another thing, but they were to come fairly early in the morning, and so I had done this whole brunch thing, quite elaborate, baked biscuits, was proving myself worthy and all of that, and last minute they called to cancel because they were running short of time. And eventually it worked out that Sussex and one of the girls came for about, 45 minutes. I had a biscuit. But Barry was in tears. And that's what I mean about them being bad to him. He always had to go to them and stay in the house. And I really can't forgive them. Well, I really can't forgive them that. Although I do know where they're coming from. Like I say, they are of my generation. So, well, they've undoubtedly tempered along with the rest of society. When it was Dad, the tempering didn't take place. And the other thing about the Peters family is they have quite extreme false fronts that they present to the world. I mean, every family does it. Every family has secrets to a certain degree. But I have never seen intergenerational lies. Caitlin only ever told me one personal thing about herself, and that was on the 3rd visit because she didn't show up for this brunch thing. Big monologue. We were walking to this little parquet thing, and 15 minutes on how much of a bitch she was, just how much of a bitch everyone in the family thought she was, very much warning me off that friendly relations were not going to be happening. And she was very like that. She used her children like conversational armor because she seemed to be able to make these snide little comments. In fact, almost everything that she said had a little snide comment at the end of it. But you say anything even vaguely disparaging, and it can't be said in front of the children. Really. Anyway, I'm going to leave this here because I want to go into what happened after Barry died, and that's going to be a whole nother 10-minute video, and because of my YouTube account being what it is, I'm only allowed so much length. So, if this has been at all intriguing, part 2 is going to be coming up,